Hi, I'm John, and this is Dice Paper Miniatures Live Clips. These are segments pulled from my Twitch live streams. This is a way for me to cross-promote both my YouTube recorded content as well as my Twitch live streams. The kind of content you'll see on the live clips focuses on, well, the material I have over on Twitch live stream, but in bite-sized segments. Everything from miniature painting to hobby reviews and discussions, unboxings, and various industry news. It would be awesome if you could click that subscribe and notification bell for future content updates, as well as share this content. All of this helps with the YouTube algorithm. In addition to helping the YouTube channel here, it also helps bring awareness to the Twitch livestream, which is typically at least once a week, if not multiple times a week. The schedule is a work in progress, so it definitely helps to follow me on Twitch so you don't miss any of those live streams there. But if you do, that's what the live clips are for here on YouTube. And lastly, before we get into the content here for the live clip, please consider checking out the merch store over on Teespring, where I have things like t-shirts, mugs, stickers, banners, and now face masks, which are perfect for respecting the space of your fellow gamers at your local game store. Furthermore, some of these live clips I do reserve for my Patreon page, which if you haven't checked that out, I definitely encourage you to check out the Patreon, as that is just another way to help support the channel, which helps creating the content that you see here. Thank you so much. Now here is today's live clip. And then I'm not a huge Age of Sigmar player, but of course I love the models, especially since you have a tendency to take from these models to use in like war cries. So that's my justification. I posted about this a little bit too on Instagram the other day, but this was an old design, and then this is kind of cool. Yeah, there we go. It transitions. I kind of like that transition effect. The web designer in me, I just can always dig little kind of gimmicks like this. But this sculpt, it's pretty amazing. I have to admit, like back in the day, this was a nice model, decent sculpt, nothing spectacular, but a nice sculpt. That's killer. It's really interesting how you can have kind of a dynamic look to a relatively static pose. They're just kind of walking forward, but with the arms out. It kind of makes me think of they're trying to pull from like classic, and maybe it's intentional because they're working with Marvel now, but like the classic Marvel comic panels, the layouts of character way back in the day in the Silver Age with like Jack Kirby. The Marvel method or Marvel way was like these dynamic poses where you really spread across the page. Even if it was like a relatively perceived to be static pose, somehow it covered a wide space. It had a flow to it, if you will. And I feel like even though this is just a simple, he's walking forward, more or less, if you write that down, it sounds, okay, it's just whatever, he's just walking forward. But he's got, the shield is out, the sword is back, the cape is flowing, the hair is flowing. For being kind of a static on paper pose, it's very dynamic. I dig it. And I mentioned the Marvel thing because everyone knows now they've kind of like teamed up with Marvel, and there's that 40K comic series out there. All that said, the face is a little wonky, but I mean, a lot of that has to do with paint more than the actual sculpt. It seems like it's a well sculpted head, and it's not that it's painted bad, but it's a little different. Still cool. And then new army types for Slan, and I really appreciate how they've tried to maintain the aesthetic of Slaanesh, which used to be a little bit more of a twist of male and female, and you would have, you still have that with some of the other models where it's like, you got like half man, half woman, like one boob, one chest, whatever. You kind of had like the demon aspects of it too, with like claws or hooks or horns. It's that whole contrast of pleasure and pain. These look awesome. Again, I feel like who's ever doing the design concepts for these, or just outright from start to finish, I'm not sure of their process anymore. Who's ever doing the designs of these, I feel like really has done a great job of capturing the essence of a lot of the old GW miniature designs and updated them in such a way that takes full advantage of like all the modern processes of production and some modern design aesthetics, but still blending it in with some of the old designs. And I think these are killer. I really like the look of these models. Even if I don't play Slaanesh, I'll probably pick some of these up just to paint at some point because they're fantastic. I saw online somewhere someone mentioned, hey, can we swap these out for Cypher Lords in Warcry? The reality of it is, these will probably have their own Warcry, army list, if you will. But that being said, I understand kind of the whole aesthetic of the Cypher Lords is their kind of fan-shaped headgear. But that's really, for me, that's the one element I really don't like with that faction. But I love the look of these, so maybe doing a little bit of kit bashing for your Cypher Lords. If you like the Cypher Lords, but you're just not sold on the fan-shaped heads, which is what I'm not sold on, maybe you can make that work. Or simply, these just might be great in Warcry, so why even bother? Just play these instead of Cypher Lords, Solid poses too. And then we have these are the Symbaresh Twinsouls. And I really like the aesthetic of these models as well. Again, I'm not so sold on the face, but I think they're consistent. And I do think, like, if you look at through the lens of, and they may have talked about this, I can't remember now, on the previous like video clip, the stream, talking about all these different previews. But I kind of feel like it's like bad plastic surgery going on, which is kind of appropriate for Slaanesh, kind of like that juxtaposition of pain and pleasure, and their version of beauty. I could see like that being kind of like that stretch skin. Of course, stretch skin, the demon aspects of them are coming out, but it just kind of all plays into that kind of like bad plastic surgery. Like this just feels like, like classic bad Hollywood plastic surgery vibe. That being said, it is consistent. It makes a whole lot of sense. I'm not a fan of that look, but everything else about these are pretty cool. That guy is not too bad, or whatever version is pretty cool. And that face makes a lot of sense. And the mask is fine. This is just wonky, but again, it's not a bad design. It conceptually makes a lot of sense. Same way with that one. Again, totally consistent, makes sense, just not quite for me. But everything else about these, the looks of these, bring them up to a modern day design aesthetic, still harkening back to the old designs and not looking quite as perverse, because back in the day when GW designed these back in the 80s, the old Slaanesh stuff was it kind of borderlined beyond like PG-13 to getting into kind of an R look. And considering they're trying to target a younger demographic, I wondered how they were going to successfully bridge that gap, and I think they're doing a pretty good job.